Hello, welcome to impromptu video. I felt like I had to make this video to make my voice perfectly clear for the world, and I'll be doing some near automata stuff while waiting on this in the background, but essentially, the news is coming that the internet is basically going to be surveillanced and controlled, and our free speech is basically going to be taken away from us. I'll stay here by the box here while I talk this out. To me, all these policies just scream of control, surveillance, authoritarian regime, and I'll just go through a few instances of like things that I myself think why it won't work in general. The first thing is their main pitch for this is they're trying to censor online adult content for protecting kids. Now, this argument is kind of the gray area, and for most part, the only twig they have to stand on. But overall, there are other things in place, such as parental controls and the human responsibility of bearing a child in the first place to protect your parent or to protect your child in things that may harm them. It's a basic human want and need. And it shouldn't be controlled by the government or lawmakers. In fact, if you take that control, you're becoming basically a socialist type state. And if Hitler can tell you anything about his socialist stuff and what he did, it didn't work in the long run. The only way socialist things work is if the government is literally God and can do no wrong. But in all annals of human history, that doesn't work out. It only works when people have freedom. And if you take away the freedom, people will rebel. Or you just become a mindless zombie that basically doesn't have control over anything. Uh, so here's other counters to that as well. Like, your device is your property, and every device has a pin on it anyway, so it has a built-in ID identifier anyway into everything that you have. And if you don't want your kids using the internet, you turn off your Wi-Fi. And you buy dumb phones and stuff like that. It brings me to my first counter argument in that other systems are already in place that make this basically a non-issue that needs to be figured out by parents and using simple common sense. But the government will never tell you that those things exist. They just want to use their power to control the populace, as they've always done. Should I... It has good merit in its own right, but it also brings me to point two. You should never safeguard something for one group of people knowing that the thing you're safeguarding hurts other people. The technology is not in place yet where people's identities can be easily stored, and privacy breaches will always fucking happen because hackers are evolving just as much as the protectors are. That's why anonymity on the internet was always a good idea, because as long as you are anonymous on the internet and don't give away too much of your information on the internet, you won't get hurt. Your bank accounts won't get taken from you. Your identity would not be stolen through identity theft. I imagine, because of this consequence of people putting blind faith into the government and just putting their IDs out in the open to be stolen, identity theft will skyrocket tremendously in this new dystopian world that we want to live in. Point number 3. The thing is about children in general. No matter how hard you protect them, they will always find a way to get through things. And humanity isn't a sunshine and rainbows happy place. So if you put too many guardrails on it, so much that they're in a wheelchair, they can't get up and be an actual human being and productive in society. Does that mean they should be watching porn all the time? No, it's not that. I'm just saying, if you censor everything, especially with humans and adults, it makes it so that the populace itself becomes more dumber and more not nuanced into the intelligent design of what we should be doing to succeed further. Is this design of censoring the internet and making it a surveillance state a good thing? No. It doesn't seem like anything is good from this. But that's what our leader generation thinks that it's supposed to be. A place where they can control the narrative on how things are fought. And they see that since the internet is such a big facet of information, they need the information to be controlled. And how do they control said information? Well, by selling your information, making it traceable. Making it so that if you post a video of something that the WEF or other people are doing, they will just get you and make it so that you are silenced and their mission continues forward. I guess the fourth point is basically the internet is a thing in which it is communication in and of itself. And just like alcohol, this prohibition era for the internet, which is basically what is happening, makes it so that people will get into more trouble, and the dark web will become a normalcy for people who want to have privacy and anonymity. No one wants to be traced on what adult sites they brought into, and thus it might cause a right for concern in terms of website usage if it is used against in criminal cases of court. That's why the Fourth Amendment stuff should be considered when talking about this stuff. I guess the last thing that I'll touch on briefly is They tried to do this with torrents back in the day, but at the end of the day, they failed. And hopefully, this so called circumvention of censoring everyone's speech and information that they get access to, all in the guise of a Trojan horse for the children as a human shield, will ultimately fail. If it doesn't fail, if there are adequate measures in place that don't compromise privacy, then maybe it will be a win for humanity. But as it stands, humanity is losing in terms of survivability because it wants to dumb itself down and restrict the internet and go back to 1992. See, do not be like 9S here and be blind to everything that you see. Do not be in control. Do not let a government that doesn't care about you and will never care about you control how you are. Because the fact of the matter is, nothing will ever stop. Crimes, enemies, hate speech, things like that will always exist. Because there's always evil in people's hearts. But you see how the Online Safety Act and things of the nature affected London in a way that made it so that no one is ever free anymore. And thankfully that for them, they are fighting back. For me, I wanted to make this video about age verification and the overall censoring of the internet to bring in a deep and heartfelt message to the humanity as a whole. This is your last chance to fight for freedom. If we don't ever fight for freedom, then there's no turning back. I thank you for listening to me in this video. I thank you